Welcome. The topic for today is lighting the menorah. When? When is the proper time to light the menorah on Chanukah? We know that there's this very specific time that the poskim have told us that's appropriate to light. At the beginning of every night, right at the beginning, just as the sun completes going down, that's when we light the candles. And the question is why? Why specifically is that time the choicest to light the candles? The Greek Empire was the first empire in the world to claim that all that exists is the physical. When God created the first man, originally when God created the world, there was no question what existed in creation. Obviously, there was everything physical that man could feel with his five senses, but in addition, it was clear that there was a spiritual reality. It was clear that behind everything that God created, there was a very real spiritual content. Even the early civilizations, non-Jewish civilizations, all realized that there was spirituality. They might have had a mistake in the sense that they worshipped certain spiritual powers, but no one denied the existence of spirituality, whether it was the Egyptians or the Babylonians or the Persians. The Greek Empire was the first to come and say and claim that all that exists is only what you see. How could they even think that? And the answer is because historically, in the time of Greece, there was an unusual emphasis placed on human logic. The Greeks followed human logic to such an extreme extent that they came to a place where they began to say, only what I understand is what exists. Only what I could sense with my five senses is what really exists. And so therefore, if all I see around me is just physical, then that means that the spirituality of the world doesn't really exist. Even though sometimes I could feel it, I could sense it in my heart, just push it away. And so the Greeks, to their detriment, came to a philosophical conclusion that the best people to keep alive in the world were the ones who were physically the strongest. The ones who were the strongest, the able-bodied people, they were the ones to be at the top of civilization. If there was someone in Greek civilization at the time who was weak and frail or elderly, the Greeks understood that that person should not remain alive. This obviously is in direct contradiction to Judaism. The whole idea behind Judaism is the synthesis of our physical reality with our spiritual one. Everything that we experience, everything that exists, our whole lives are one constant unity between our physical experience that we have through the five senses and our spiritual one that we have through our souls. And so the Greek civilization, the Greek Empire, when it spread across the whole world, spread over Israel as well, and spread over the Jewish nation at the time that was existing in Israel. They decreed specifically certain decrees that denied the existence of spirituality, and they required the Jewish people to follow those decrees or face death. The Maccabees spearheaded a war against the Greek Empire. The Maccabees stood up for what they believed in. They said, we are not going to give up on our mitzvahs, on our beliefs, on our lifestyle that unites the physical with the spiritual together. The Greeks said, well, for one, you can't really keep Shabbos, because what Shabbos is the total antithesis of human logic. Logic dictates a person should work. Just keep on working. Work the whole time. Why would you work and try to make more money, more physical possessions? 24/7. Torah says stop for one whole day. It's the opposite of Greek philosophy. Said the Greeks, we don't let you keep Shabbos. Came the Jewish people and they wanted to fulfill the mitzvah of bris milah. Complete a person. Give a person from the time they're a little child a spiritual aspect to their life. The bris milah shows the connection of the human being to his creator. Said the Greeks, we don't let you do bris milah. We won't let you circumcise the small babies. There's no logical reason to do it. Came the Greeks and they said, we don't let you declare any of these holidays that you declare according to the cycle of the moon. We don't let you make Rosh Chodesh. The reason, because the whole idea of the mitzvah of Rosh Chodesh is what God has given people to connect to the spiritual reality of the holidays. When the Sanhedrin would decree what day is Rosh Chodesh, that would create a reality on whatever day of the month it was, the first day of Pesach, the first day of Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah itself, that a reality of spirituality should descend upon the people of the world. Said the Greeks, we don't believe in this. What is this? You're the ones, human beings, are going to declare what's going on spiritually? There is no spirituality. Chas v'shalom. And so therefore, they were in direct opposition to Jewish beliefs. When the Maccabees stood up to fight the Greeks, they stood up with their lives. Many of them, a number of them, even lost their lives. But what they did was, they proved beyond a doubt that spirituality exists. You know why? Because the war itself that they fought was the biggest proof. The war was just a group of some unabled, maybe even more elderly men from Israel with beards who got together and said, we're going to fight the Greek Empire. Yeah, really now. And you're going to win the Greek Empire, who's the superpower of the world. What did God do? God gave them a victory. Until the great superpower of Greece was forced to withdraw its constraints over Israel. The war itself was God's way of saying, yes, I'm here. I'm present, even throughout all the physical existence that you see. And so therefore, God said, because you were willing to give up your lives, because you were willing to stand up for what you believe and what I've taught you in the Torah, you were willing to show the world that what exists is even what you don't see. Even if you don't see all the time my presence. But of course, I exist. Therefore, I will give you a special experience of the spiritual each and every year. And each and every year, when those special days of Chanukah come around, God says, when you light those lights, you light a physical light down here, but that will parallel an extra special spiritual experience that's coming down into your homes and into your hearts. Each and every year, God gives us for 8 days a special experience to know, almost beyond a doubt, that the reality of the world is not only physical, but spiritual as well. And so now we wanted to understand, why is it that we have to light the menorah at a very specific time? And now we have a little understanding of what's behind the lighting of the candles. Now we can really understand why the Sanhedrin instituted the times that they did. What's the idea of the candles? The idea of the candles is to give over a spiritual message. The idea of the candles is to give over that the small group of Jewish people, they won the war. They won the war against the Greeks. There really is spirituality in everything physical we do. So what the Sanhedrin instituted is that the main place to give over that message is to those places that are the most physical. Those places in the world, those people in the world that are the most physical in their lifestyle, that would hardly ever think about spiritual, those are the people to give the message to. So who's that? Say the rabbis. Those are the people who spent their time the whole day in the marketplace. When you're at the business place, when you're in the world of dealings, it's not really a time to think about God. How often does a person think that God is really behind his becoming successful or not? The business place may be the place where you see God the least. Said the Sanhedrin, we want you to shine the candles to that place. But of course, you're not going to go in the middle of the day and light candles in the middle of a person's office. In the daytime, the candles don't really have much significance. It's at night. So here's what the Sanhedrin said. At that point at night, when everyone starts to come home, at that point at night, when there's rush hour. The rush hour in the olden days obviously wasn't with public transportation, but the rush hour that existed was when people would come as the sun went down. The work day, was defined as long as the sun was up till the sun went down. As the sun started going down, many people started to go home. There was about a half an hour lapse of time when there was still enough light outside to get home until it got totally dark. That's when most of the people went home. It's about a half an hour of time. And so, said the rabbis, in that window of time, that's the most optimum time to light the Chanukah candles. As the sun completes going down, just a little light outside, people are coming back home from work. In the olden days, they would go by feet, they would pass through the streets, they would see the Chanukah candles standing outside everyone's door. There would be a message. They would get the message. And so till today, the optimum time to light is just when the sun finishes setting. When the sun finishes setting, according to many poskim, is considered exactly at the time when 3 stars come out. Many hold that the time of the sun setting is when we don't see the sun anymore on the horizon, sunset. And so, depending on your custom, some people light when the sun sets, some people light when 3 stars come out. But from then, the candles need to be burning for a half an hour. That's the time when people are going home. That's the time when people pass by. That's the optimum time to give over the message of Chanukah. If a person doesn't have that ability, it's winter time, comes out too early, he's not home from work yet, he can ask his local halachic authority, and then it is possible to light the rest of the night. But the poskim say if you light the rest of the night, there has to be some sort of message. There has to be some sort of pirsum hanes. We have to make known the miracle. So who are you going to make it known to? Say the poskim, it's only the right thing that if you come home later, 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock at night, and you want to light candles, you should gather your whole family together. Gather everyone in the house together in order that at least if you're lighting not for the people outside, you should light for the people inside. If for some reason one night it was very late, person went to a wedding, they came home 2, 3 in the morning. It is still preferable to have the whole family come to the time of lighting. The great Poisek, the Magen Avraham, says that unless a person's whole family is present later in the night, they cannot make a bracha, they can't make a blessing on lighting the candles. Others disagree, but the Mishnah Brura, the great halachic Poisek, the Chavetz Chaim, says that in deference to the Magen Avraham, we don't make a blessing unless everyone else is awake. So, if you come home late at night, very late, if everyone is still up, or it's possible to get everyone up, then we would light the candles and make the blessing. If not, you can light the candles, but without the blessing. A person can light the entire night until Amud HaShachar. Amud HaShachar is defined as 72 minutes before sunrise. You can look up the time of sunrise. 72 minutes before is the last time to light. The candle should burn a half an hour. Even if you light just a few minutes before the Amud HaShachar, the candle should continue to burn for the time span of a half an hour. If, for some reason, the whole night went by and a person was not able to light Chanukah candles that night, if he knows about it beforehand, he should certainly ask someone else to be his messenger and to light for him. But if he didn't do that and he missed the lighting of the candles, the halacha says he could still light the next night with a blessing. He could still continue to light the number of candles for the next night. It doesn't affect his upcoming nights. Unfortunately, he did miss that night that he missed. And so therefore, if we know we're going to be very late, we won't be able to make the candle lighting time at night, we should have someone else light in the appropriate time for us. When it comes Erev Shabbos, right before Shabbos, obviously we can't light when the stars come out. We can't even light as the sun goes down. It would be Shabbos already. So the halacha tells us that we light right before lighting Shabbos candles. First we light the Chanukah candles, then the woman of the house, or whoever lights the Shabbos candles, lights the Shabbos candles. However, the amount of oil or the length of the candles need to be long enough that they should burn the required amount of time of 1/2 an hour after the stars come out. So we light before Shabbos, we need extra long candles in order that they be able to remain lit for 1/2 an hour after the stars come out. Motzei Shabbos, when Shabbos ends, obviously we didn't have the ability to light earlier. A person should preferably light as soon as possible right after Shabbos. May Hashem help, and we be able to get and give the message of the Chanukah lights. That we be able to give over the message that God is here and a real force in our everyday physical lives. And we be able to integrate that message into ourselves. By each and every year, experiencing that great gift that God gives us during the days of Chanukah. The shine of His spiritual existence. The shine of Himself that comes into our homes and our hearts every night of Chanukah.